Hi there, and a warm welcome to another episode of Today's Parent, where we connect you with experts and provide you with information to make your parenting journey a bit more easier. I'm your host, Christine Casina. In today's show, we are talking about divorce and the legal implications and how it affects our children. In studio today, we have a very, very important expert. Her name is Shanice Kimenyi, who's going to share with us the pointers when it comes to divorce, what we need to look out for, especially the legal aspect. She is a family lawyer, and she is in studio with us today. Shanice, very nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
On this very sensitive topic. Divorce could happen for one reason or another, and it's something that most people don't wish for, but then it gets to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just make us understand, what is divorce? Are there different types of divorce, and how does the divorce process look like?
There are different types of divorce because there is a legal separation. There is a divorce which completely cuts out the rights between couples, and then also depends on your religion because there is a Hindu way of doing it and there is an Islam way of doing it through Sharia law. But essentially it is cutting off the couple so that they can each lead their own lives, but there is a lot of process for that to happen.
How does the process look like?
It can be very grueling, depending on the couple, because they could have a lot at stake, and the most important is the children, because now it affects them completely.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a family lawyer, I just want you to take us through. There could be somebody watching right now, and they want to understand, I'm thinking about divorce right now. What does it take for me to get divorced? Where do I start from? And like I asked you at the beginning, how does the process look like? Do I need to wait? Do I need to start with a separation before I think about a divorce? Then when it comes to the legal aspect, how do we share, if there's assets to be shared, how do we share the children, if at all?
Oh, good. Now, first thing is that you should know is that nobody can go through a separation or a divorce before 3 years are over of marriage. So if there are quite serious problems that occur before then, then the law as well as organizations that deal with this, the churches, they do advocate for a separation in the meantime. So that if no resolution is reached when you try to mediate between families, then you can go for the divorce done by the courts.
Right.
Yes.
Is there a time period for which you need to consider, for example, a separation needs to be for 1 year, 1 year and a half, 6 months?
After the 3 years of marriage, you can actually now file for the divorce. But they tell you to take time to mediate, speak to parents, speak to the priest or pastors, advisors. There are organizations actually that advise, speak to counselors.
Right.
Yes, before you take that step, because that is a permanent step.
Okay.
Yes, if you are to even get back together after a divorce, you have to go back through the processes of
get married again.
And get married again. Yes, yeah. And then you mentioned property. That comes after a divorce. You cannot start talking about property until the divorce process is finalized.
Right.
That is now when the issue of property comes in.
Okay.
And now the laws are that what you came in with, you walk out with.
Right.
Apart from what you got, the two of you as a couple during the marriage. That is now what is matrimonial property.
Right. Shanice, you mentioned you're a family lawyer. I know you're a family lawyer. I'm trying to understand your role in this space that a couple is looking to divorce. What's your role as a family lawyer?
First of all, we are trained to mediate, so we do try. Whether we ourselves do it or we refer our clients to other organizations to do it for us.
Right.
But personally, the first thing is to mediate, because a lot of things actually can be resolved by space. Just giving each other a bit of space, even 1, 2 years, and then see whether you can resolve. 1 year, 2 years. It can work.
What's the longest separation you've ever seen and people got back together?
2 years.
Okay.
Yes, and it was very untidy at that time. But after the space, now they can talk. Now they can organize which schools they can actually sit down and speak about now the children.
Right.
Yes, because that is the best interest. But at the time, it is so bitter. That is why a separation is very, very important, so that you can think and they can think. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your experience, Shanice, what are the mistakes we make when you're thinking about divorce and going through the process? What are the mistakes that women are making, men are making, couples are making?
Emotion. Unnecessary emotion. I know
both sides, one side?
Both sides. Okay. Because for the men, they try to use the babies or the property to hold the women hostage. And also the women can use the baby maintenance to hold the men hostage. So it is putting your heart or your feelings instead of putting your brain into it. Because you see, you have to consider your children very, very much so, because they will be very affected by everything you're doing, or whatever age they are.
Right.
Yeah, so it is very important to just look at that aspect, remove emotion and think. That is why take a step back, breathe, go do something, then think about how you're going to go. But emotion is bad.
Okay. So number one, use your head.
Use your head, not your heart.
Okay.
Yes.
What other mistakes are we making when we are thinking about divorce?
Lack of seeking advice.
From,
I think most people go to their best couple, but you see them, it could be that you have a very
oh, that's
young...
their role. You know, when they stand there with us at the wedding,
yes,
you've chosen a best... What are the best maids for, by the way?
Most people actually have that thing of a best couple, where they can advise you because they're a bit older than you. Others have your best friend as your... But you see, for example, she's not married, then she really cannot tell you anything about marriage. Yeah, so, but sometimes you can go to them, go to the parents, but if your parents insist on trying to get you back to that, then you can seek out the church, and you can seek out other organizations that are there.
You know, people are scared of the church, especially.
They are.
Do you experience that?
Yes, unfortunately.
Why are couples afraid of turning to the church?
Because they will insist that, God requires that you don't separate, but, they are exceptions to the rule. You can't stay somewhere where your life is at risk, because what is the point when you're trying to take care of children? That is something even the church will tell you, if it's that bad, then you need to get away.
Right.
Yes.
So the first point you've shared is we need to use our head. Yes. Keep emotions out of it.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Second is get advice from somebody older and somebody who has gone through, or even somebody who is still married, because they can tell you what it is they're doing, and they're happily married, not just married.
Yeah.
Yes, and they can tell you how to go about it. Yeah, because the older you are, it is true, the wiser you get, because you've experienced life.
Right.
So talk to somebody older, somebody you trust, somebody with your best interests at heart.
Right.
And this is for both, not just ladies, even men need to talk to somebody.
Okay.
Their uncles, just talk to them.
Okay.
And figure out, what do we do? How do we handle the children? How do we handle ourselves, our properties? What do we do?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Which other mistake do you think we make?
Oh, thinking on top of my head.
Because you've said the first one, I remember clearly, we use a lot of our emotions.
Yes.
And then, seeking out advice from older, wiser people, couples possibly.
Yes.
Because my first point of contact would be your nearest friend, who's normally a young person, and then both of you are emotional. I'll be like, what?
Yes, exactly. Actually, that is what happens, because and then maybe they could be very young, married, or even not married at all. So they can't, it's not possible. In fact, we do it because we know the legal aspect of it. Yeah. But it's not possible for your friend who is not married to tell you about marriage. Every marriage is different. That is why it's always better to seek, because your friends know. No, seek somebody who will tell you the truth to your face and tell you, this is where you went wrong. Right. This is what you need to change, or this is when you walk away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't go to your friends.
Okay.
As such, as the last resort. Your friends are there for you to vent out.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But then when a couple gets to a point where they feel the best way is for us to, separate and eventually divorce. Mm-hmm. Is there any way to do it in a way that is not messy? Is it possible for a couple to remain friends? Is it possible for it to be done without anybody losing their teeth or breaking bones, and for it to be nasty? Yeah,
it is possible. I know that it's a very funny part, because Kenyan law don't allow amicable divorces.
It has to be messy.
So you can avoid the messiness by simply going through the process. If you can't talk, if everything is so raw, take a bit of time. If you can't, then talk through your mediators, your lawyers. Don't throw words, don't throw text, because all this is evidence of instability. And you see
that your mental state is questionable.
Yes, it is. And you see, if you go beyond, there's a part it can become a criminal offense. If you go abusive, if you threaten. So just use the brain cells that you have left after all the emotion, because emotion is very powerful. So that is why they tell you, take a step back, talk to somebody. Talk to a counselor, a psychiatrist, talk to somebody, because they are trained how to deal with emotion. Okay. So once that calms down, then now you're able to think, you're able to map out, I'll do plan A, plan B, plan C. Then you can eventually, you're able to sit down with your ex-spouse and talk as adults. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Talking about the legal aspect of divorce, what are the legal implications, bringing in the aspect of children as well?
Now, the implications, it means now that you have to go to a state where you have to discuss about custody. And that is the most sensitive issue. Because again, the issue of them using children against each other to, to hurt each other emotionally. But when a child, for example, even the law is clear, when a child is below 7 years old, really it belongs with the mother.
So a child below 7 years
is very tender.
Is it automatic?
The law says it's a very tender child.
Or unless something is questionable about the mother.
Yes, unless something is exactly.
Right.
So for now, even as a father, what are you doing? What would you? It's good for you to see the child. Yes, if you're living separately, it's good for you to mold, because actually children do need both parents.
Yeah.
A woman can only teach so much. It needs a man's side to come in and also show you the roughness of the world, prepare you for the world.
Absolutely. Taking into interest, not to forget the dads as well. How are they covered?
For men, they are parents. As I said, the DNA is 50% shared. So there's no way, what I will tell women is there's no way you would have that precious child you love without the man's contribution.
Absolutely.
Which means he must be in the child's life. And of course, men also have to be men. They can't be boys at this stage. You fathered a child.
Yeah.
So you have to think beyond your self-interests and think that this child has to live somehow. This child has to survive. Yeah, because you see, if you don't do these things, later on the child will become an adult and will question you.
Yeah.
Yes, and you will be, you'll have to answer why you didn't. Yes, but men also, if the woman is able to take care, has more resources, yes, that it means that his work is still not reduced. It's still a 50%. Yes, he can still be a house husband. Yeah.
In a situation where the woman has more capability, is the woman then inclined, will the court make her pay child support to the dad if he's the one staying with the children somehow?
Yes, it doesn't happen here. I know it happens in other societies where women also pay alimony and they pay. Yeah, but no, it hasn't reached us.
Fathers.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, because it's in our African culture, it's very rare for the man to take over the responsibilities of a child.
Very rare.
Yes, so that is why I think the parliament did not put that in the laws.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need to think about the men more as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So as we're coming to the end of this segment, your top tips, to parents who are watching, a mom, a dad, who are possibly going through a separation, leading into divorce, how can they handle this time? Or if maybe just by watching somebody's marriage, you might say right now, what advice can you give to them? I
tell them to breathe.
Breathe.
Take a step back, breathe. The moment you don't use your brain, it will not go well. Take a step back, take time. Say, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our marriage, let me go for 2 weeks, even with my parents or with my friends, and just take time to come back to what we need to do.
Okay.
And then you're able to. And if you can't, again, don't be ashamed to talk to somebody. Yeah. There are people who really know quite a bit, and they will actually help you, tell you, do this, don't do this.
Okay.
And this is, again, for both.
Okay.
Yes, for the couple, yes.
Okay. As a family lawyer, is there any way we can destigmatize divorce?
In Africa, unfortunately, is really, as much as we follow a lot of the West, we are still a lot governed by culture. So
there's a lot of stigma around it.
But now, as you've seen the way with the millennials and with everything happening, I think it's going to change very soon. Yeah, but of course, it should not be a leeway for people not to try in a marriage.
Yeah.
I still advocate, really try your best. Give it your best. So when you get out, you say, I tried. Not that the first sign of problems and I walked out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Shanice, for coming to share.
Thank you, too, for having me.
It was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure, too.
At this point, we are going to let Shanice go. She's a family lawyer, and she has shared with us, when it comes to divorce, what we need to look out for, and the importance of keeping emotion out of it and just to breathe. We are going to take a short break, and then when we come back from the break, we are going to have Muthoni. Muthoni is a child who's been affected by divorce. She's going to share her story so we can see the implication of divorce on how it affects our children. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to today's episode of Today's Parent, where we are talking about divorce, the legal aspects of divorce and what we need to be wary of. And at this point, we have Muthoni, who's been affected by divorce. We are going to share with you, or have somebody share with you, when it comes to divorce and the effect on children, what happens there. Muthoni, Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
You know, to use your young people's lingo, thank you so much for coming through.
You've done good.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How are you?
Very well.
Yeah?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
When did your parents get divorced?
They got divorced when I was 10, 11, around that time.
Right.
And it was an interesting time in my life.
How was it? How was it?
It was a bit of a shocker for me because I honestly hadn't been with my parents for a long time. We had lived together for only 1 year. And it was in the US, which is very different from here in Kenya. And so when I went, things were not good. So my mom
Between
just
the two of them?
Yes, definitely. They were not good even before I went. Then when I went, they just turned from bad to worse. So my
Right.
mom decided it's better to give me a better environment than the toxic environment that was my parents together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they opted to separate and divorce, or...
It was actually just divorce. It was just from, we left. We actually left. My father wasn't around. He had gone somewhere. It was actually on their anniversary. So that's the day that
Wow.
they split up and it was official by the Florida courts. They were divorced. Yes.
They'd been together for how long?
15 years.
That's a long time.
Very long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And you were 10 at that time.
Yes. So it was culture shock already.
Being
As
in
it
another
is.
country.
I'm in another country, and then my parents, it's like, what movie is this and when can I wake up? Yes.
How was it like?
It was surreal. There was a lot of fighting. It was toxic. That's what to say. I was not at home at home. Does that make sense? You
Yeah.
want to run away, but there's nowhere to run away to.
That there's no home.
There's no home, exactly. So, and it's not like you can go to your auntie's place.
Yeah.
So it was just me, myself, and I trying to figure out what is happening here. And
Okay.
yeah, eventually we were just my mom and I.
Going back to when you were 10, what you can remember, how it affected you being that young and as you grew up. How did it affect you?
I was very introverted, which is not my personality. It kind of pulled me away from reality because
Okay.
I didn't understand what reality was. And I would not do anything really. I was very unhappy. I would read. Reading was my outlet, really.
Right.
So I didn't talk much. I felt very out of place because, I'm just an African girl who's just come out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at my parents, they don't get along, but they don't really see how their fighting is affecting me. And so I think they were having so many emotions that they don't even see this little person of how it's affecting me at the end of the day.
How was it affecting you? Especially the fighting.
What can I say? At that point, you don't really see like it's affecting you. You're just trying to understand it. Why are my parents fighting all the time? Or it's like, oh, they're fighting. But it got to a point, I think it got really bad that I actually was about to call the police. I think that's actually what happened when my mom just no. When I took the phone and I said, this is enough. We can't do this anymore. There's too much shouting. This is not normal. I know that for sure. So it's either you stop or I call the police. And then that's when finally now things started. The process actually started, yeah.
So it was just now you and your mom.
Yes.
I wonder how your teens were like when you were in your teens.
I was terrible. I can say I was terrible. But it wasn't my fault. As a teenager already. As a teenager, you're trying to figure yourself out.
I didn't even ask if it's your fault or a bad.
Well, that's what I'm trying. Now, that's what I'm understanding
This
now.
is what I'm going to ask you. What did you do?
Yes.
What did you do?
What can I say? When my mom was I think she was so hurt with everything that had happened, so she'd put herself into work. Everything was just work.
Yeah.
So for my mom and I would never really even see each other. We could go a week and see each other once in that week.
Was she working more than one job?
Yes, great America.
Yeah.
So she was working 2, maybe 3 jobs. So she comes in, showers, changes, out, like that. So we used to communicate on a board, and Mom, I need break. Mom, I need lunch. There's no this. Yeah, that was that simple. Then me, I do take care of myself, really. I had to cook, I had to clean, I had to do everything that not most 10, 11-year-olds are doing at that time.
Yeah. How did that make you feel?
Well, when you're doing it, you don't realize it, but it takes away your childhood. You don't have the time to just play and just mess up, because when you mess up, it's all on you.
Yeah.
Why didn't you cook dinner? Why didn't you clean the dishes?
And
Why didn't you do
hard.
laundry?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, but you have to help out because now I was also seeing how my mom is struggling so much.
Yeah.
Being a new parent, so to speak, because she didn't have me all my life. And then she's going through this divorce and then she doesn't even know what she's going through. So I think a lot of the times her own emotions would take the best of her and then there's no time to see what is happening with my life. Then that's when I started rebelling and hanging out with more boys and skipping school, and it was just like downhill. My grades, I was always an A student. I was on the honor roll, and by the time they got divorced, my first F came in, and then it was just downhill from there. And that's how I ended up in Kenya, actually. Yeah.
With a child's eye, remembering your childhood, thinking about your dad now, in the most compassionate of ways, there could be a dad out there who's a divorced dad, possibly absent for whatever reason. If there's any advice you can give a dad right now of what he can do better to mitigate, if any, if there's anything he can salvage, what advice can you give a dad right now who's going through a divorce or divorced? From a child's perspective.
Yeah, from a child's perspective.
Yes.
Don't let whatever issues and drama that you have with the mom affect your relationship. Like, be there. Try to be as present as possible. It's not even about the money. It's about the fact that my dad is there. My dad is there. Show up for, if it's now entertainment, if it's class, if it's school. Just show up and be there. And at first it seems like maybe you're just, you're trying to control my life. You're not. But eventually we appreciate it later. And you're in line. A lot of things you learn just because your father is there. Then it's impossible to be a parent to one child. A mom needs a dad. A girl needs their mom and their dad, and so does a boy. It's the same way. So even for us girls, we need our dad.
I'm
and
sure
you're
they hear
the
you loud
example.
and clear.
Absolutely, you're the example for who we will be, who we will date, the type of relationships that we have in our lives. You are that example.
Absolutely.
So you also show that, yes, in this divorce, yes, your mom and I are not getting along, but I still respect your mother. I can still be a part of your life, even if this is not happening.
Right.
Yes,
what's your relationship like with your mom right now?
Oh, my mom is my best friend.
That's awesome.
Yes, my mom is my best friend. She's actually in Kenya after 25 years, so I'm actually getting to know her as well. But it's awesome because of the fact that she has always been there, even if it's distance, we've had a lot of distance between us, but the presents, the calling, the cards, the birthday present. I'm very big on my birthday. So the birthday presents, just call to say I love you, text to say I love you, all that, it really means a lot.
I hear you.
It makes every difference in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your mom, over the years, there are things she has learned. I'm sure you've had deep conversations. There could be a mom right now going through a divorce, thinking about a separation, or going through a separation. Her emotions, of course, are all over the place. What you've seen with your mom, what advice can you give to a mom, watching right now?
Yeah. Try as much as you can, exactly like what Shani said, put your emotions aside. Because a lot of the times you'll be just saying a lot of things of what you're feeling. Your father, this. You'll be saying things and you kind of put negative thoughts in your child's head.
All your bitter thoughts.
Exactly.
And whatever happened
and those are not my issues, really. Whatever issues you have with my dad, those are not my issues.
Keep them away from me.
Yes, because eventually what you hear, what your child hears is also the type of, attitude they have towards their parents. Maybe this father is actually present, but because the mom is always calling him a deadbeat, then the child will lack respect for their child, really,
for
their
father,
parent, because of the fact that their mom is talking badly, or they hear aunties and those conversations. Try as much as you can to separate them from your child. Those emotions, just, this is your child, this is your mom, this is your dad. Respect that, and then the rest you learn later. The rest you can talk about maybe when you grow up. This is what happened. This is why we ended up getting divorced. But as long as you're doing it when the child is young, it really messes with your head, because this is my dad. I love him, but do I love him? Should I love him?
Should I show you I love him?
Exactly. Should I even respect him? You're not my dad. You don't do this to me because you're not there. So all these things, you eventually hear your mom talking, you're talking through your mom's, what she said is what you're saying then, but that's not what you're supposed to be saying. In fact, you're bringing a curse for yourself, because
I'm wondering, as a society, do you feel, having come from parents who are divorced, do you feel we need to give some kind of support to kids who come from, from a family they've separated? Do we need to be more sensitive? I don't know how I can imagine how your experience was in school. Do we need to be more
I think those are the words. That's the
sensitive
word.
and-
You definitely need to be more sensitive. First of all, kids are so mean. They don't know about divorce. They don't know.
Baba yako ako wapi?
You
Mama
know.
yako ako
Bas,
wapi?
exactly. And it hurts. And it hurts.
Yeah.
And that child will go and it will define them, right? So it's so important to just kind of embrace it, that as much as in Africa we don't like it, but it's there. And we shouldn't demonize it at the same time, because a lot of divorce happens because of, it's to make life better. It's because things are so bad that we have no other option but to leave. So we should understand everyone, from the child who, yes, is going through divorce, which is really shocking and you don't even know how to do. There's no manual. Absolutely, there's no manual.
Yeah.
And also for the parents, you don't know. This is someone that they've spent years with. They have
Yeah.
children with. They've
Yeah.
built a life with. And then all of a sudden, things are not working the
15
way they
years
had
is not
planned.
a short time.
Yeah,
That's
some
a
people
long
it's
time.
15 years, some people it's 30 years.
Yep.
And it's a shocker even for them. So we kind of need to approach it, in a very sensitive way, and also know that people deal with things differently. So kind of just be there. Yeah.
I'm into that.
Yes.
How are you doing right now?
Much better.
Good to hear.
much better. Thanks to my I've been raised by my grandparents. So coming back was actually one of the best options for me, because I had my family, I had my grandparents, I had that stability that I needed, which I could not have found when I was in the States. And psychology also really helped me. I did psychology because of that, the brokenness, the dysfunction that I've grown up with. I kind
Right.
of needed to understand what it's about and how I can deal with it. Yeah, and I think that is the number one thing that has helped me. And more importantly, God, I can say God has just been a big factor in my life. But I really worry for the people now who don't have the stability
Yeah,
to
or
eventually
support system.
exactly, or support system to get
Yeah.
back on their feet.
Yeah.
And because I have a wild childhood, like when I look back, I'm like,
Oh my God, did I do
yeah,
that?
was me. Yeah, but I'm also happy to see that I got here. But I worry for those who don't have that opportunity that
Yeah.
I do, that stability to kind of get your head back on right. Because for a long time, honestly, you won't have your head on right. That's a fact. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So,
You
thank
look like you're happy.
Thank you. I am.
And I wish you the very best.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Modoni, for coming through.
Thank you.
And with that, we come to the end of today's episode of Today's Parent, where we were talking about divorce, the effect it has on kids. And in the first part, Shanice shared about the legal implications and what we need to look out for, how we can do better in going through the legal process. And the most important point she shared, keep emotions out of it. See how, as much as possible, you can use your brain and try to remember what matters here is the children. Don't forget the children as you fight the emotional well-being, how they're going to grow up. See how you can keep your emotions aside and think about the children. Thank you so much for watching today's show. I have been your host, Christine Casina, and this has been Today's Parent. If you're looking for previous episodes of this show, please head on to Switch TV YouTube channel and you'll find all the previous episodes there. We have been in studio at Little Cribs, the home of fun, exciting and durable kids furniture. We look forward to having you next time. If you're looking for parenting resources, don't forget to head on to www.supermamas.co.ke. Thank you for staying tuned.